Welcome to the Sportz Phenz Show. The show where, just like you, we can't get enough sports.
The 47-year wait is over! And the Nuggets win it! Wilson throwing, it's up for grabs, and it's caught for the touchdown! And the Denver Broncos have taken Super Bowl 50. And the Avalanche are 2022 Stanley Cup champions! And a shot into the back of the net for Diego Rubio!
Now here's your hosts, Arthur Knight and Larry Perkins.
1-0 Rapids. They are champions!
Yo, what's good in the hood? Welcome to the Sportz Phenz Show. I am Arthur Knight, and with me, as always, is Mr. Larry Perkins.
What up?
What's going down, my dude?
Decision Sunday.
Yeah, crazy week in sports.
Yes.
We're coming to you live from 4300 West Alameda here in Denver, Colorado at So High Cafe. Stop on by, say what's up to Vinny, tell him the Sportz Phenz sent you, get you some brisket, get you some wings, and don't forget to walk away with some home-style mac and cheese. I'm getting a weird random echo.
No randos.
I was like, are you hearing that, or am I?
I was like,
I was making you check where
I thought it might have been my pregame this morning.
Also brought to you by.
We're also being brought to you by INV Vision. INV Vision is off of 700 South Buckley Road. Stop on by, tell Bryson the Sportz Phenz sent you. They take all major insurance. So stop on by again. That's on Buckley and Alameda, right next to the Burger King. Tell them the Sportz Phenz sent you. I Envy Vision. We see you. All right, man. Really weird week in sports. I was supposed to set up a line. I had a whole bunch of people that wanted to call in. I was supposed to set up like some sort of line to do so, but the week got away from me. So, my apologies to all that wanted to call in.
I'll tell you later.
What's that?
We can always just plug it in your phone, and I can plug it into here.
No, I'm watching the game right now. We'd have to plug in Larry's phone.
No,
I'm trying to do three things at once right now.
I'm watching this great Laker game right now.
You ain't watching nothing on your phone, boy.
I'm watching this 2-20 game.
Oh, my Lord. And they ain't starting nobody, huh?
Nah, they start my cousin, Bronny.
He your cousin now? Oh, y'all fam now. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, when he failed, I'm going to tie that little bow right around your neck. Hang your ass with it.
Man, why everything got to be so violent?
Violence. Violence is what we do. No, I'm just kidding.
This is going to be the end of a great, I personally feel like a great NBA season. So many captions.
Yeah, it's been a weird season. It's been up and down.
Exactly.
Crazy trades that
Firings.
nobody. Yeah. Like speaking of firings, man, I just got to get this off my chest, man. It's been bugging me all week because everybody keeps coming up and asking me, because I'm always wearing Nugget stuff, so they're always gonna come up and ask me, hey, how you feel about the firing of this person, that person. It's just like, you know what? It was a long time coming. First, I'm of two minds, okay, when it comes to the firing of, Coach Malone and Calvin Booth, right? I'm of two minds. My business mind is I understand it completely from the ownership and from the Kroenkes' perspective. I understand it completely. We do it where we work. If you have two people that are fighting on the line, whether fists are thrown or not, like if you get in each other's face and you're both in the wrong, you're both gone, right? That's kind of how this situation worked. I'm guessing Kroenke had a come to Jesus speech with both of them before the beginning of the season, because there was reports of this last season that Booth was all up in Malone's face about not playing the young guys and wearing out the veterans and whatnot. And that was true. I mean, he wore down Jokic, he wore down Murray, he wore down AG, he wore down KCP. All of these players played heavy minutes all season last year, and it showed up in the playoffs that, playing heavy minutes of your starters during the regular season is not the way to go. You'll wear out all the tread of your team. You're going to wear them out. And that's exactly what came into fruition last year.
Yeah.
And this year, when it came to this year, Kroenke he said it as much. He had a come to Jesus speech with both of them. Like, you guys need to sit down, work this out, make sure that we're one unit, we're one cohesive unit, and so that we can make a playoff push. And there were instances during the season that it seemed like Michael Malone was kind of going along with the program, doing what Booth kind of wanted him to do, because Booth wasn't going to give him the veterans. And, this is not the destination spot for picking up the big names. The Nuggets had no trade equity to get. What's that?
He gave him Russ.
He gave him Russ. Well, that's who Jokic wanted. If there was anybody that they wanted, or Jokic wanted, it was Russ. But all these people talking about, the Levine and all of these other guys that were out there this year that got traded and moved. Everybody wanted all of these people, and it's like, well, the Nuggets had no trade equity whatsoever to go get those names. The Bulls weren't going to just take peanuts for Levine or homeboy. What's the other boy's name?
They would have.
No, they wouldn't. They didn't.
Sacramento. Look what.
Sacramento still gave them first round picks for him, didn't they? I'm pretty sure if I go back and I check, Sacramento gave them good equity because they had to. They had to. That's the way the CBA is written. We've talked about this several times. The way the new CBA is written, they couldn't just trade him for peanuts. The Nuggets didn't have that to get that type of player. Any of those players that were out there, nobody was going to take Najee for Levine. Nobody was going to take Najee for, whoever you want to put here, place there. Now there's this talk about Jokic is going to LA.
No.
You've got this talk about KD coming from Phoenix to here. And it's just like, man, no. KD can't come here unless the Denver Nuggets pretty much clear a lot of their bench. Okay. And a lot of their contracts are terrible. And that's why Booth was fired. Booth was fired because he put together this team, and it's solely on him that put this team together. And they were having ups, downs. Now, granted, to his detriment, Coach Malone wasn't playing the roster as Booth constructed it.
Well, they was right. That's what I wanted to get at. There was tit for tat.
They were being childish. They were both being toddlers.
Najee was talking about how he would put him out of position.
He was trying to put him in center. But he tried to play him at the 5 all the time. That's not his position. When he played at the 4, when Coach Malone would put him at the 4 with Jordan, with Jordan at the 5, he actually did play very well, and he played that good weak side defense. He was blocking shots, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not saying that Coach Malone didn't have his faults, but he still had a team constructed not the way he wanted, not with the players he wanted, and he still got them in a position to be in the top 5, maybe even the top 6 if if they lose today. Knock on wood, they don't lose today. But the bottom line is he still got them to be a non-play-in team. Now, it started to turn out that they might fall to the play-in if they had kept him. The only thing that I don't like about the situation is the fact that Kroenke decided to fire the coach 3 days before the end of the season. Now, like I said, I'm of two minds. I've got the business mind. I understand, this is a business. He expected professionalism. I would have still personally, and I love Coach Malone, and I'm probably going to get a lot of heat for this, I probably would have still fired Coach Malone at the end of this season. Why, do you ask? Because you can't have an employee or a coach bucking against his boss the way that Michael Malone did. Michael Malone was walking around like his poop didn't stink, after winning a championship.
Oh, I know.
And I get it. You want to have that air of confidence, but you can't get to the point where you're arrogant and you're talking, you're basically telling your coach to go, or your boss to go F himself. Anybody would be fired for that. I don't care if you're employee of the month every month. If you were to walk up to your boss and basically tell him to eat You know what I'm saying? See, this whole thing has got me like hotter than fish greased up,
he
bro.
never respected Calvin Booth anyway. So
No, and Calvin Booth should have been a fire that happened before the beginning of the season. Like, in all honesty, the contract that he gave Najee should have gotten him fired. The contract that he gave MPJ should have gotten him fired. And I don't care what anybody says. I like MPJ.
And that's what made Malone so furious.
Right.
And he was like, okay, I'm going to show you. Since you want to pay him, I'm going to
And they did this tit-for-tat BS thing that only children do. And these are grown men in their 60s, and you know what I'm saying? So I see, like I said, I see the frustration of ownership. Like, you know what? I'm tired of both of y'all. You're not doing what we need you to do. Calvin Booth, as the GM, you're not putting pieces on the board that is helping this team win in a window that's closing with the Nikola Jokic, the greatest player the Denver Nuggets have ever had. And that's saying a lot, because there's been a couple of great players that have played for the Denver Nuggets, but he's the greatest, and nobody can argue that that's not true. When he retired, even now, he's not even retired. He's still playing. He's still the best player that has ever donned a Denver Nuggets uniform. And I dare anybody to argue against that, because I've been watching the Nuggets since 1983. Bruh, he's the best. He's the best we've ever seen in this uniform. So they're wasting that window, or Calvin Booth was wasting that window trying to do this young talent thing, you know, and I get it. It's probably, we can't even, like, as Denver Nuggets fans, right, we can't even, you have to kind of put this a little bit on ownership too. They're trying to pass the buck a little bit, but nobody could argue with me about telling me that Booth was just making these decisions because he knew, you know, he wanted to keep this team young and fresh all the time. No, this is the ownership gave him a budget. You cannot go within the second apron. I don't care what players you sign, what names are on the back of the jersey. I don't care. You just cannot go into the second apron, right? Ownership here in Denver has always been that way, even without the second apron. They've always been that way. They have always been the bargain. We're going to get the best stars we can get with the lowest dollars we have, you know, that we're going to give you. So we can't just hang it all on Calvin Booth. But the fact that he didn't make any moves and he did resign, he could have traded MPJ. Not that I want MPJ traded, or I hate MPJ. A lot of people say I'm an MPJ hater. I'm not. I just don't think he's living up to the amount of money he gets paid for. He just isn't. I could say the same thing about Jamal Murray, and I wouldn't be surprised if both of those players are traded next year when they're viable to do so, when their stock is still pretty high. I would not be surprised if they do that. And now, of my second mind as a fan, I'm just like, why now? I get Booth. Fire him. He doesn't have a job to do for the rest of the season anyway, right? There's no trades. Right. The only thing he has to do is get prepared for the NBA draft coming up. Right. Maybe some free agent signings, maybe some re-signs, that type of stuff. But it's just like, you know, he re-signed all of these guys, Kankar or whatever his name is. I really do like him as a player, and I'm just massacring his name because I'm frustrated right now. But the bottom line is that my mind as a fan is just like, why now? Yeah. Why would you fire coach right now? But I'm starting to see why in the last 3 games. At first I was just like, you know, I was pissed. I was like, this is stupid. We're a better franchise than that. You know, Milwaukee did that last year to their coach. Look how far they fell. Like, they fell hard and they couldn't win anything. You know, they switched out Doc Rivers, and Doc Rivers hasn't done anything over there. I mean, yeah, they're up there this year in the standings, but they're almost in the same position they were last year. Yeah, they're almost in the exact same position. So what value add did the Milwaukee Bucks get by firing their coach and then hiring one? You know what I'm saying?
Well, I thought he was going to go to Phoenix and do a great job, but yeah, he couldn't do nothing with the 3 they had in Phoenix with KD and
yeah, but see, that's besides the point. That's besides the point. The point is that Milwaukee fired their coach, and there was no value add to doing so. Memphis fired their coach this year. This just seems to be a trend of teams, and it's starting to piss me off as a fan. You're just letting go coaches, trading players, doing all of this stuff, and then when a player when LeBron, like, and this is a kudos to LeBron, but when a player like LeBron says, okay, well, I'm going to take my talents to South Beach, we crucify him. Right? We crucify him. Where's the loyalty? Where's this? Where's that? But then if the team does it, you were supposed to, as fans, just be like, oh, well, it's a business decision. And it is. Don't get me wrong. It is. It's a business decision. But
it's going to be a lot of I'm sorry to switch gears, but as far as like coaching-wise, it's going to be a lot of coaches out there for the Nuggets because I don't think they're going to stick with Adelman.
Is there going to be?
Think they'll stick with Adelman?
He has a good shot. I really think it depends on how well he coaches these. Obviously he won the last 2 games. If he can win this game, if the Nuggets can make a run, I mean he's throwing his hat in the ring. He's got a good shot. But I don't think there's anything out there that was basically better than Malone. I think Malone just got himself fired. He's a great coach. His ego got him fired.
Yeah.
It seems to me, and there's reports coming out now, and I hate the fact that that players and other people close to the situation are starting to leak this stuff now, as opposed to at the end of the season. But there are reports coming out now that he coaches hard, and when you're winning, it's no big deal to be coached hard. But when you're losing and you're getting worn down, it's like the message got lost.
Yeah.
And I read a report the other day, maybe day before yesterday, that said some of the players were pissed off that he would rather play Westbrook than Pickett, even though Pickett was playing very, very well. And I could see that, man. I mean, Pickett came out these last few games and he's played some quality minutes. He's been asked to, take over some time, especially with Jamal Murray being out, and he stepped up and stepped in.
Yeah, but that's like the most difficult thing, especially in the organization, when the executive part and the coaching part don't see eye to eye on things. And like I say, I know, back when the Lakers had Jim Buss, that was horrible. You know what I'm saying? When Jim Buss was running stuff, and they couldn't get on terms, when they had Mike D'Antoni. You know what I'm saying? That's back in the day. But, I mean, the only thing they can do now is just look towards, a good GM. I mean,
well, there is talks about the GM from Minnesota coming back.
Oh, I thought you was talking about.
Trying to think of his name. Hold on, I'll find it. But
they also was talking.
There was talks about, because that whole Minnesota situation is toxic over there. And even though I still don't think – Tim Connelly, that's his name, Tim Connelly. I still don't think the Denver Nuggets, for him to come back – the reason why he left Tim Connelly – he's the one that constructed this team, first of all. It was not Booth. Booth retooled a little bit when Tim Connelly left, but for the most part, Tim Connelly built this team. He drafted Jamal Murray. He drafted Nikola Jokic. He drafted the majority – I mean, with the exception of like because Brown was drafted by Booth. He was drafted by Booth, so we'll give Brown his credit. But he also drafted like Najee. He drafted Kankar. He drafted, most of the bench. But the main team that won this championship, because the only thing that Booth added was KCP and Brown. The rest of that team that won, for the most part, was constructed by Tim Connelly. So him coming back would be awesome. But I think it's just rumors, because I don't think, number one, he can get out of his contract in Minnesota. Right. Number two, the Nuggets are still not going to offer him ownership equity in the team like Minnesota did. So I don't see that coming back. But there's no quality GMs out there that I can find. There's no quality coaches out there. That I can find.
Whatchamacallit to come out the NBA?
Who?
NBA, Joe Lacob.
Come out what? Retirement?
No, he's on the ESPN.
So he's retired. He's not coaching.
Well, no, I'm talking about general managing.
Yeah. Oh, you're talking about the homeboy that
from Golden State.
That construct.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be mad at that per se, but that dude doesn't seem very interested in going back into being a GM. Like he seems to be having a lot of fun at ESPN. But that would be if I had to, because he's not available right now. So I'm saying like available. There's nothing out there. But if you're talking about if we're pulling guys like off of TV and stuff like that, then yeah, that's my guy right there. That's the one I would want. If I can't get Tim Conley,
I mean, if you could give them all, I mean, you're Cronkies, man. You got money. If you could like offer a
they got money. Do they spend money? No. That's how the rich stay rich, my dude. They don't spend money, my guy. They try to get everything for free, or at a bargain, and that's the way the Cronkies have run the Denver Nuggets. That's why I said Booth. Booth basically had his hands tied behind his back, but so did Tim Conley, and Tim Conley was still able to drafted Nikola Jokic, and nobody. I'm not trying to say that anybody knew literally when Nikola Jokic was drafted that he was going to be an MVP, top 3 to 5 center all time, great. Nobody thought that. Nobody knew that. It wasn't until like the end of his first year that everybody was like, this guy could be, if he just gets his weight under control, he could be the greatest.
I think it all falls on ownership though, because I remember
it does.
I remember Dallas was kind of like Denver. Dallas, I remember back in the 80s and 90s, they're like, nobody didn't want to go to Dallas. And when Cuban came over there and said, you know what, I don't care, open my wallet, you know what I'm saying? And that's how you change the culture. People go to Dallas now. You know what I'm saying? Dallas is
but he's not the owner anymore. And I saw an interview with him the other day.
I was just using that as an example.
Yeah, he's still reeling right now about the whole Luka trade. He also was asked about the Michael Malone firing, et cetera, et cetera. So it's just weird for ownership to do what they did. I get why they fired Booth, and it should have been done sooner. But when it comes to Michael Malone, I think he should have gotten a little bit of a pass. As a fan, this is my fan hat. I'm not necessarily saying that they should have given him a complete pass. There still should have been another come to Jesus speech. Or just make Coach Malone the GM and hire you a coach. Make Alderman the head coach or whatever the case may be. But I think he not necessarily should have gotten a pass. Maybe that's not the right vernacular to use. But he should have gotten until the end of the season to do what he needed to do. Well, but then again, because of the way I watched the last 2 games, that might have been detrimental. That might have hurt the team.
Somebody should have got fired before the season. Either
that
would
have been Booth.
Either the
Booth.
Coach or either one. Well, not both, but just
just Booth. Booth should have been fired before the season's begun.
They
should have fired him at the end of last season, so that a new GM could have came in and put better pieces around Nikola Jokic. Not that he has terrible pieces now. It's just that you can't win in this league with young players. It's not impossible, but it's improbable. Like even some of the greater teams, LeBron, it took him a few years to win.
I mean, there's exceptions.
Jordan, it took a few years to win. There's no exceptions. Did Jordan win in year 1?
No. But
okay. Did Magic win in year 1?
Your statement was it's hard for nowadays. Right now, it's hard
for
young
period.
teams.
Period. In the NBA, it is not impossible, but it's harder to win with young players. Did Magic Johnson win in his first year?
Yeah.
Okay. Magic Johnson's a bad example, but that was a different team.
Right. I understand.
The team.
Right.
Okay. Just trying to think, like all of these greats, they didn't win automatically.
No.
They didn't win automatically.
So you're talking about win it all, not just being a competitive team, just winning the championship.
Like being not just being competitive, like actually, because when you're saying competitive, that means like, you're fighting for a position to win it all. You're not competitive if you're not in a position to win. Like period, you're not in a competitive state. Utah's not in a competitive state right now.
No,
they're in a lottery state.
But what you will call it? Because like I said. It's just a few young teams out there that's young, and they are like the Rockets.
Right.
That's
they're a young team, but they're inexperienced, and inexperience in a playoff situation will cost you. Ask Oklahoma City last year.
Shoot, that's OKC back when they had Kevin Durant and Harden.
The whole reason why Dallas got to where they did last year is because they were beating teams that had less experience in the playoffs than they did. The Nuggets, I could even say that in the Nuggets when they won 2 years ago. They beat teams that had literally, with the exception of the Heat, when they beat the Heat, every other team that they played that year had very little to no experience in the playoffs, with the exception of maybe the Lakers, right? You could probably throw the Lakers in there too. So 2 teams out of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams that they had to play to get to win it all, right? Were all teams that were just inexperienced, and the Nuggets had more experience in the playoffs than they did. You can win that way. Once you get into the playoffs, man, things change game to game, and it also depends on your coaching. So that's going to be a big thing for the Denver Nuggets going into this playoffs, is are they going to be able to make adjustments? Because Michael Malone was actually very, very good at making in-game adjustments to win games. That's going to be a big deal. That's going to be a big deal. But Adelman has seemed like even the Nuggets, I think they went on a 14-1 run. Don't quote me on that, but I think it was a 14-1 run to win against Memphis the other night. You know, yes, Memphis was on a back-to-back, you know, blah, 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 blah. But nobody feels bad for the Nuggets when they have to play a back-to-back and they lose, right? It doesn't matter. Nobody cries tears when you lose in the NBA, NFL, NHL, whatever.
I remember last week the Lakers had, like seven games in 10 days?
Yep. But they had one of the easiest schedules at the beginning of the season.
That is true.
And if they had taken advantage of that, they might be in the number 1 spot right now.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly.
Yeah, but they was filling everything out, you know.
Well,
New
that's
coach.
a nice way of saying we sucked at the beginning of the year.
No, I mean, we had a new coach, you know what I'm saying? We didn't make any significant changes during the season, you know.
Except for the coach.
That's it. And Bronny. that's the
We
deal.
said significant. I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
We better leave him alone.
No, I ain't saying. What is his daddy gonna get in my face too, like he did with Stephen A?
He's gonna put it on you.
He gonna get in my face, and then I'll be the
You just gonna
richest
see
man in the
right-
world.
Right behind us, you're gonna see these big brown.
Yep, and then I'll be the richest man in the world.
Hit me.
I'll be the richest man for the rest of my life. My kids' kids will have money, just like his kids. Let him get in my face. Go ahead, swing. I dare you. Your son sucks. He's terrible. How does Chuck say it?
Terrible.
He's terrible. He's terrible,
And
and you basically got him into the league, you know, on some BS. And I don't care what anybody says. That's just BS. So anyway, I digress. I don't want to talk about Sir Flops a lot. Sir Travels. This dude travels all the time. I'm just so tired of seeing all these GOAT debates and stuff, and you know, like he's better. He's 40. This is the argument. He's 40 and he's still playing this good. He's got to be the GOAT. Why?
I mean, I watched a guy playing his 40s named Kareem.
Why does he got to be a GOAT? Because he's still playing at a high level at 40. Could he play at a high level at 40 if they were still able to hand check and it was football on the basketball court? Probably not.
I think that's the most overblown, the GOAT. I mean, it depends personally. It's too many errors. You can't go through it. I think you could take a person from, you know, like we was talking at work, you know, who's your GOAT and stuff. You know what I'm saying? You know, mine's is Kareem. You know, yours is, who is your GOAT?
Yeah, but let me put it to you this way. My GOAT is MJ. MJ's the GOAT.
Okay.
MJ's the GOAT.
Okay.
But I also understand that there are GOATs of different eras. Like
Right.
MJ's the GOAT of his era. And before that, it was Bird and you know, Magic.
Right.
Because they kind of coexisted during that time. You know, I can't think of who has more
I don't know,
rings.
Man. I don't know because Magic got more MVPs, more rings. Did
he get more rings though?
Yeah, five to compared to 3. You know,
That's all Bird got was 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
He got 3. Magic got 5. Magic got 3 MVPs. I think Larry Bird got 1. But you know what I'm saying? It was they just linked them because of the Celtic Laker thing, but Magic's definitely like above that. You know, 70s, you know, I had Kareem. You know, each, you know, in the 60s I had Oscar Robertson, you know what I'm saying? The big O. But I don't think it's
I guess
one.
he did only win 3.
Yeah, but I don't think it's a specific GOAT. Like you know, I mean, I like Michael Jordan, but I mean, Kareem have as many championships as Michael Jordan. You know what I'm saying? Only thing you can say about Michael Jordan is, he never lost in the finals.
No.
Which is true.
No. This is the bottom line why I say MJ's the GOAT, okay? Of basketball, okay? Number one, he won on all levels. Number two, when you walk up to somebody and you say, hey, did you cop them new J's? Or do you say, hey, did you cop them new Kareems? Or do you say, hey, did you cop them new LeBrons?
See, I don't know where you're going with that.
I mean,
I know where you're going with that.
He
But
transcended basketball.
From a financial, global, shoe marketing.
He made the NBA the brand it is today.
Right. Kareem didn't do that.
Nope.
But Kareem was as good of a player as he was, though.
Okay. I mean, that's arguable. Kareem was also 7 foot. Michael Jordan was 6'6".
Michael Jordan never had an unstoppable shot. Well, he did have the fadeaway.
Yeah.
He had the fadeaway.
Every shot he took was an unstoppable shot. What are you talking about? The only time you could stop him is how the Detroit Pistons did. That's the only way you could stop Michael Jordan is when he took flight, you put his ass on the ground. That's the only way you could beat Michael Jordan until he noticed that and he started to bulk up and got bigger, right? And then he was just like working round the clock to get bigger and bigger and bigger until that happened. Yeah, the only way you could stop him was to put his ass on the ground. Couldn't do that after he got bigger. So, like I said, the GOAT debate is just stupid.
I mean, it's
a
only
stupid debate. Everybody has their GOAT.
Exactly.
Every era has their GOAT.
Right.
And there are certain players that just played extremely well within their eras, and LeBron is no exception. He played the best
in his era.
But one could argue that when Michael Jordan, during his dominance in the 90s, right, nobody ate. No other superstars in that era were eating. You wasn't even sniffing a championship while Michael Jordan was playing.
And that's a good way you can determine which player stopped multiple superstars from winning championships. And I was looking at that, and I see Michael Jordan. And you guess who was after Michael Jordan?
Probably Kareem.
No.
Who?
Kobe Bryant.
Yeah.
Kobe Bryant stopped a lot of stars, and we could talk about Chris Paul.
People
Allen Iverson.
Will argue though that Kobe, during Kobe's era, there was like a long period of time where Kobe wasn't winning championships until they got Pau Gasol.
Exactly.
Right? So there were other teams and guys that were eating during that time, especially the San Antonio Spurs were eating. Right?
Yeah, that's the only
Tim
that's
Duncan.
The only team. That's when they had their 3-year.
But that's the point. That's the point. When MJ was winning, when MJ started winning in 1990
because you could
to 1998, right? That's the almost a 10-year gap that he played when he was dominating. Because in the early 80s, he was small. He was dominating, don't get me wrong, in scoring and all of that stuff. But they didn't have the team around him. He was a bunch of bums that were smoking and doing all of this stuff, right? When he first started. But as soon as they got Scottie Pippen and put Phil Jackson at the helm, and they started putting pieces around Michael Jordan, in 1990 to 1998, with the exception of the 2 years he played baseball, nobody ate. Period. Nobody was eating. Nobody was getting a championship. This man was not only getting scoring titles, he was also, during the scoring title years, he was also getting Defensive Player of the Year. He was also all defense along with Scottie Pippen and all these, how many times has LeBron won Defensive Player of the Year? I don't think he's won it once. I can't think of a year where he won it. Well, I definitely can't think of a year where he's won the scoring title and Defensive Player of the Year. You know who did that? There's only 4 players to ever do that. Do you know who that is?
Who's that?
Michael Jordan, Michael Jordan, Michael Jordan, and Michael Jordan.
All right, Charles.
That's the only person.
All right.
That's the only person that has ever done it. That's the only person that has ever done it 4 times.
Like I say, it's only 5 guys that, in my opinion, that should be considered. Now, I ain't saying one is greater than the other, but it's 5 guys that you can mention like they're my GOATs. I ain't saying his GOAT is better than his GOAT, but it's 5 guys that is Kareem.
There's greats.
Right.
What you're talking about is there's greats. You can't be GOATs. Greatest of all time does not afford split.
Greats.
No. You keep saying
You
there's 5 GOATs. No. Greatest is singular, my friend. Greatest, not. There's no plural to that.
I'm just saying like
There's
if a
greats
person-
though. There's greats.
I'm just saying like you have 5 guys. They say each of them have like this my goat, this my goat. They all have their different goats. You know what I'm saying? All 5 of those guys have a point. You know what I'm saying? All 5 have a case for their GOAT conversation. And I said it's 5 players of all time, the 5 players that should be mentioned.
There's only one player though where most of the greats call him the greatest player of all time.
I know.
It's only one player.
I know.
And everybody knows it. Everybody knows it. LeBron knows it. That's why he has to keep, I think LeBron is great. I think he is great. Great at what he does with the exception of like the flopping, the bitching and moaning. I don't like any of that crap. But he's a specimen. Like this dude, the way he plays at the size he is incredible. I get it. But he's the one calling himself the GOAT. He's the one that self-proclaimed himself the king. He's the one, I liken it to this movie that I saw not too long ago with Adam Sandler called Pixels, right? And in that movie, there's this kid at the beginning and throughout the movie, but basically he calls himself the Fire Blaster. So they give him crap like, well, who made up that name? You gave yourself that name. It doesn't matter who made up the name. It's totally cool. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the way LeBron is like, who cares who says I'm the GOAT? I'm the GOAT. Like, no, it does matter who says you're the GOAT. If you're the one saying, and only your fans are saying that you're the GOAT and there's not a general consensus, brother, like, you're not the GOAT. I'm sorry.
Well,
Top 5.
Kareem,
Top 5.
Magic, Jordan, LeBron, and Kobe. Those.
See, you have 3 Lakers on that, though. And that's not, no.
No, 4.
Yeah, that's not.
That's all of the Lakers except for Jordan.
It's not even the case, my dude. Not even the case.
I mean, you could make a case for all 5 of them.
No, not really. Not really. You can make a case for one of them. You can make a case for one of them.
And he's not.
The rest of them are just greats. The rest of them are just greats, man. I'm sorry. Like, I'm still a firm believer that everybody has their own.
Right. That's like your opinion,
No, I mean, that's pretty much the general consensus, man, unless you're a bronsexual or a.
I'm definitely not one of those.
I don't know. You're starting to come off as,
No.
Kareem.
Kareem.
Kareem was great. Kareem was great.
Kareem is, because the thing is, he was unstoppable. You know what I'm saying? And I watched him.
But could he be stoppable? Okay. Let's try to put it in this perspective or in this light. Could Kareem step into this league now and still play the same way and dominate? Not the GOAT. Can Magic Johnson come into this league right now as it stands and still play and do the same stuff?
Yes.
I don't think so.
Yes.
I do not think so.
Yes, I can.
Could Larry Bird? Or no, who was the other one you said?
No. Kobe?
Kobe? Could Kobe? Well,
yeah.
Kobe probably could.
Yeah.
Kobe probably could.
And MJ?
And MJ.
Yes.
I think MJ would average 65 points in this league, personally. I really do. I don't think there's a person in this league. Gary Payton's probably the best on-ball defender I've ever seen in my entire life. There's been some good ones. There's some good ones. I like Andre Iguodala. There's been some good on-ball defenders that have played in the NBA. But to me, besides him or the Worm, there's not many that are better than those two. And Michael Jordan scorched both of them. Okay? I can't think of one on-ball defender in the league today that would be able to stop Michael Jordan.
No.
Period. I do think there are, like Wembanyama, the Greek Freak.
You don't think Draymond could do anything? Probably not.
No, I don't think Draymond could play in the older. I think Draymond's too soft to play. No, he's too soft.
I think Draymond would be like an average NBA player back in the 80s.
He would be. He'd be a bench player, and he's more mouth than he is really
Bite.
Like he really is. Like, dude, he's just a big ass bully, is what he is. And I think he's like he's fake tough because he knows on the court. You know what I'm saying? Like there's no real repercussions. And he goes after the weak when he punched Poole. Like he knew Poole was soft, so he went after him, right? He wouldn't do that to
LeBron.
Yeah, like he wouldn't do that to any guy his size.
Actually, a good example is like right now, because I remember when Jimmy went there, Jimmy was talking mad stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, ain't gonna be no pool party. And
and
Draymond didn't do nothing.
Yeah, cause he's soft. He in real life, most bullies are really, really soft. I'm not saying that the man can't defend himself or nothing like that, but most people with a mouthpiece like that talk a lot of crap, and they're verbally abusive, are usually soft on the inside and really ain't gonna pop off and roll up on nobody. You know what I'm saying? Unless they know, they'll roll up on you if they have a perception of you being weaker than them, because that's what bullies do, right? And so,
Dre, I ain't say that. I'm Larry from the Sportz Phenz.
Yeah, whatever. Larry says the same things. He says the same things. He
said, pull up, me and Larry.
Scared.
He said, pull up right now. Me and Larry wait for him.
Come on to the show and explain to me how you're not soft when you talk smack about, when you get up in people's faces on the court and stuff, knowing that there's going to be referees and other players that can step in between and coaches and stuff that can protect you. On the street, that's different. That's mad different. And I'm not saying I'm some tough guy that I'm just gonna beat your ass or nothing like that, because that's not the case. I'm just saying.
God damn.
I'm just saying.
Scoot over.
I'm just saying. I'm not trying to call him out like in the sense that I want to scrap. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to squabble up. I'm just saying like this dude. The perception is there. The perception is there. I do not think that man could go back. You know what I'm saying? Like Charles Oakley would eat that dude alive.
Oh man.
Charles Oakley would eat that dude alive.
I mean, players like that. I mean, Anthony Mason
would eat him alive.
He
would get punked by those players in that era. Like I'm dead ass. Like he would get punked by those players in that era.
Buck Williams was.
Dude, we can go all day. We can start naming all kinds.
I'm an old cat, man. I remember Rick Mahorn,
Grandmama. Like,
Larry
you know what I'm
Johnson.
saying? Yeah, like
I mean,
those type of dudes would body Draymond. They would body him. And he plays the 5. He doesn't even play like his true position, the 4. He plays the 5. So you're playing against Olajuwon. You're playing against Shaquille O'Neal. You're playing against Lambeer. You're playing against who was it that played for the Cartwright? Bill Cartwright. You're playing against dude. Vlade Divac. I could go on and on and on and on and on. You're playing against those type of players at the 5. Draymond Green would get eaten alive, dude. They would not be able to play this small ball crap that they play right now.
Because I remember he was
State.
talking on the podcast about the 80s and stuff. He's like, yeah, he can hold his own. I was like, bro, no.
Oh, he says all the time the guys in the 80s and 90s weren't skilled players.
Oh, no.
And it's just like, nah, bruh. Nah, bruh.
No.
Nah, bruh. Y'all are just allowed to carry, double dribble, travel.
It's no hand checking, bro.
No, you're not allowed to hand check anymore.
It's no hand checking.
Every foul that was in the 80s and 90s is now a flagrant foul.
If I can't touch you, bro, if I can't touch you, I can't dictate, where you go on your motion.
I can't switch your yeah. No, I was never a big fan of hand checking. Don't get me wrong. I was never, because I think that's a defensive foul to me. So them taking away hand checking is fine with me. I'm good with that. But them taking away the fact that these guys can put their hand under the ball in a shooting motion, they can damn near put it like right here, and then bring the ball back down into a dribble. Or that step through BS, the gathering step, all of this stuff.
That James Harden stuff.
All of this stuff. Well, it's not just James Harden. It's all of these players are doing it. He's not the only one.
Yeah,
he's not the only one. Kyrie's been doing it since he came into the league. James Harden's been doing it since he came into the league. I can't think of off the top of my head anybody else who was doing it when they first came in. But it's kind of like the crossover when AI first came in. Nobody was doing it until AI was really doing it. You had Tim Hardaway's crossover was pretty good. Actually, Penny Hardaway's crossover was pretty good. I retract my statement. Now that I think about that, AI wasn't the only one with a hard ass crossover, but his was the one that was breaking ankles, including Michael Jordan. Like he got Mike on the cross one time. But anyway,
he said, "Well, Penny." He's like,
yeah, I started going through. Oh yeah, he did have a good cross. Like Tim Hardaway had a good crossover too. Spreewell was pretty damn good with his crossover. But anyway, I digress because I can go. I can keep going. What was that? What was my original point, Larry?
I don't know. I think you said Kareem was the GOAT.
No, I did not say that. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is top 3 in centers, but I would say he's probably top 15 in all-time players.
Oh,
that's just me.
Oh, that's so disrespectful.
Why is that disrespectful?
Top 15.
Yeah.
All time.
Yes.
To 14th, please tell me.
Who's the 14th?
Give please.
Who's the 14th?
Better than him, please.
Wilt Chamberlain.
No.
Yes.
No.
Bill Russell.
No.
Yes. Bill Russell got more rings than anybody. You're telling me that he ain't better than?
We doing the overall basketball, bro.
Okay, Bill Russell. Better than Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
As far as winning, I mean, like a championship.
Period, bro.
So he's
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, just like Magic, and just like LeBron right now, and just like Kobe, benefited from having great players, Hall of Fame players around him. Michael Jordan only had Scottie Pippen and maybe you could consider Rodman. Is he in the Hall of Fame? I can't remember. Okay, so he had those 2 Hall of Fame players.
Top 75.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
I mean, Kukoc. Wait, never mind. Yeah, go ahead. You're right.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Who was on his team?
Ooh, a plethora. I mean,
who was on? No. Because I know you know. No, I'm talking about when he was a Laker.
Okay.
When he won the bulk of his championships. Who was on his team?
Magic.
Okay, Hall of Famer.
Worthy.
Hall of Famer.
Jamal Wilkes.
Hall of Famer.
Whatever. Yeah, Bob McAdoo.
Wilkes is probably not a.
He is.
Okay, he is a Hall of Famer. Okay.
Wilkes, Bob McAdoo, Worthy. Kareem had at least Michael Cooper.
The top 7 players on his team are Hall of Famers, dog.
Actually, yeah, all of them. Let's see. Coop,
they had
at least the five players that I mentioned.
The 5 starters, him plus the starters, the 4 starters, and then the 3 men deep into the bench.
Yeah, all of them is
Hall of Famers.
Yeah.
Okay.
Michael Cooper, Bob McAdoo, Jamal
So he
Wilkes.
benefited. His numbers benefited. That's why he gets knocked down to the top 15 for me personally. Now, if it was just him, James Worthy, and Magic Johnson, then okay, and he had the same numbers, then okay. He's in that top 5 for me. Oof. But because of the fact that he benefited from the showtime, he benefited from having, the floor spread completely. You couldn't double team Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Why? Because James Worthy, because Magic Johnson, et cetera, et cetera. You couldn't double team him. You couldn't do the things that you would do to other teams that only had the 2 or 3 stars. They had, just like Bird benefited from that too. He had 4 to 6 Hall of Famers on his squad too, including himself.
But in Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's defense,
mm-hmm.
in his swan years, he was already past his prime when they got when he started winning in the championships with Showtime. His bulk of majority of his play was in Milwaukee.
Right, in a weaker East.
It was pretty back in the,
it was okay.
Back in the
it was okay.
Back in the early 70s, it was a decent division.
Right. They had the Cavs. There was a few teams.
Right.
Boston was good.
Yeah.
Detroit was obviously good.
Right.
New York was good.
And only person he had was Oscar Robertson. It was just him and Oscar Robertson.
Okay. It was just one of the greatest players to ever play and him. Right? That's okay. Come on, man. You just made my point. He benefited from having great players around him. If he doesn't have Oscar Robertson on that team spreading the floor, does he have the same numbers? Probably not, dog. That's just I'm really not trying to knock the dude because I like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I love the way he played the game. He played on both sides of the floor, which I love. As a basketball fan, I like two-way players. I like players that are not selfishly just scoring, and that's what pisses me off about most people. I'm not even an MJ real fan. Like, I hate MJ. He used to beat my team all the time. Just like I hate Kobe. I don't like none of these. I was about to cuss. I don't like none of them. Like, but I respect them. I their game.
But see, the thing is, you have no choice because your love for basketball. You
Right.
love basketball. You have no.
You have to recognize greatness, and respect it.
And that's as an old heads, you know what I'm saying? And that's what, I respect the players of the day. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm. I respect players of this day.
I respect players because I'm a basketball. I respect the game. You see what I'm saying?
But if you think, I don't know how we even went into this tangent, but if you think about, because we're almost out of time here, we really just went off, and by we I mean me. If you if you think about it, during this era, let's say LeBron's been playing, what, 20 years?
22.
22 years. Okay,
Yeah.
so 20 plus years.
Yeah.
He's won 4 in 20, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's been to 10, though, right, in that 10, if I remember correctly, because
9.
he's lost 6.
9.
Okay,
no,
so he's,
no, 10.
yeah,
You're
okay,
right, 10.
because he's lost 6, he's won 4.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, 10.
Excuse me. During that time in the 20 years, he's been to 10, he's lost 6 of them, and there's another 10 years in there where other teams got to eat, like Golden State, Miami, the Nuggets, etc. Like, other teams got to eat in that 10-year or that 20-year span. For real.
Yeah.
Like, in that 20 years, Dallas, San Antonio have both won during his time, right? Just saying, man, that doesn't speak GOAT to me. How many shots, how many game-winning Game 7, Game 6, end of the series shots has LeBron taken and made? Or does he usually create the? I mean, some would argue that he creates those shots because him going to the hole is
like Ray
sucking
Allen.
in the defense
Right.
and allowing Ray Allen and all of these other guys to win the game for him. That's smart basketball. Don't get me wrong. That's not GOAT basketball, though. It's not GOAT basketball. The GOAT wants to get those points himself.
I know what you. I definitely know what you mean. You know what I'm saying? And like I look at Luka. Now Luka, he got that in him. Like, I want to make that.
Yep.
LeBron.
He's not trying to pass the ball. Luka is the type, him and Jokic are really rare stars. Like, they do want to take that shot, but for the most part, they get their teammates involved throughout the entire game, and then like Kobe or MJ, they take over at the end of the game. That's a killer instinct. That's GOAT stuff. That's what you do. LeBron is not the guy. If I had a choice of who's going to take the last shot at the end of the game, especially if it's a 3-point shot to win the game, LeBron's probably 20th on my list to take that shot, my guy. Like, for real. And that's being nice. I'm just trying to be nice because there's no way. I mean, he just doesn't take the final shot. He just doesn't. AD had the game-winning shots when they won that in the bubble, right?
Yeah.
He had those game-winning shots. They went through him. The offense went through him. During his years in Miami, you know what I'm saying? The shots didn't go through him.
No.
They weren't giving him the ball at the end of the game. They were giving it to God, what's that boy's name? Why am I drawing a blank?
D-Wade?
Yeah, they were giving it to D-Wade.
But the thing is, a lot
They
changed.
were giving it to Allen.
Yeah, a lot changed after they lost to the Dallas Mavericks, though, because I remember Dwayne Wade told him, like, look, man, you got to be more assertive.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they got on him, you know?
Yeah, he was like, you need to take the shot. You need to take the shot. You're the one that needs to take the shot. He want to take all the, do all of this and, that when he's dunking in the middle of the game.
Said,
but at the end of the game, when there's 2 minutes left in that game, where's all of this? Where's all of that? I'm going to take the shot. No. He wants all of the praise when they win, but he wants none of the smoke when if he misses that last shot.
Well, we'll see this upcoming this playoffs. It's going to be a very interesting, playoff.
Well, I'm just wondering if his ego will allow him to allow.
Luka going to be him.
Well, Luka's going to be him.
Luka's going to be
If Luka is him, and then it rubs LeBron the wrong way.
Oh yeah, he can go.
This team is going to fall. Your team is going to fall out of the playoffs rather quickly.
Well, we might, but the thing is, we got our guy. So.
Yeah, you got your future guy. You see, that's why. See, he's already moved on from LeBron. He's already moved. He's like, oh, we got our new guy. But keep in mind, Luka didn't win in Dallas. Luka couldn't win in Dallas by himself. He needs a Robin.
Yeah.
And right now, LeBron is his Robin. But can they play?
I don't.
How are they going to do? They have a new coach who's never coached in a playoff series, even though J.J. Redick has been in a playoff series, not many, as a player. Excuse me, and mainly as a role player. And I'm not knocking. I wanted J.J. Redick in Denver for many, many of years.
Really?
Okay. Oh yes, I wanted him here.
Player.
Yes,
as a player. Okay.
I wanted him here many of years. The
Clippers got him.
Well, a lot of teams got him, but I was saying it for years, man, and you can ask Mark that. Like, even Mark we were both advocates of J.J. Redick coming here because we like good shooting. I'm not necessarily like in love with 3-point shooting, but I like a good shooter who takes good quality shots. Not just, and that's not a knock on Curry. That's not a knock on anybody else. I'm just saying I like a shooter that plays within the confines of an offense.
Like Byron Scott.
Like Byron Scott. I like that type. Reggie Miller.
Yeah. The greatest.
Even
jump
Ray
shooter.
Allen.
Not a 3-point shooter. People get that confused. Byron Scott was probably the greatest jump shooter.
Oh,
he
man.
was the greatest jump shooter.
He can make it from anywhere on the court.
Yeah. Because they really.
Anywhere on the court.
They really took threes back in the 80s, only to really win the game.
Right.
Not just, but I'm not just being.
But he can find his spot. He can find his spot.
Probably was the best jump shooter, other than Kenny Smith. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, Kenny Smith was pretty good. He was pretty good. See, you just aging us now. That's what you're trying to do. You just trying to age us.
Hey, man.
All right, come on, Utah. No, I'm just kidding.
That's crazy.
I hate Minnesota, man.
Yeah.
But I can't. I want. In our final 2 minutes here, I'm just gonna say, a lot of people, and I see a lot of fans that are always on the message boards and all of this stuff, posting on Facebook, on Twitter, about how the Nuggets need to avoid this team and that team. I hate that mindset. To me, in order to be the best, you need to beat the best. And that's why when we beat the Lakers 2 years ago to go on to the championship, right, in the West, that's why that win, and I'm not saying this to take a dig. I'm really not. Normally I would, but this is not a dig. This is not a dig at all. Because the Lakers had beat the Nuggets so many times in that same situation or in a playoff situation, that's what made it all that much sweeter when the Denver Nuggets won, is because they finally beat the team that they could never beat in the playoffs.
In the Western Conference Finals.
Period. The Nuggets had never really beaten the Lakers in anything. Like in a regular season.
I mean, you guys beat us
in like 80s, single games.
In the 80s.
Single games.
Oh, yeah.
Not a series. We would not win the series out of 4 games that we would usually play y'all, or 3 games. We'd probably win 1. 1. And then in the playoffs, I mean, just forget about it. So, that's my point. Like, in order to be the best, we had to beat LeBron James, AD, and that team constructed to win it all. We had to beat them. So for me, in order to be the best, you have to beat the best. Michael Jordan knew that. That's why he knew. He knew that they could not. The Bulls could not be anything until they beat the Pistons. Right, the Boston and LA at that time had already kind of fallen off with they had to reconstruct it, their teams and all of that stuff, because they had all of these Hall of Famers that they had for so long, and then they didn't have free agency and whatnot. You know what I'm saying? So those teams had those players, and they just had those players. And then once they retired or they left, then the team had to rebuild. That's just the way it was that during that time. But to wrap this up, man. Playoffs are next week. Play-in is this week. Let's go Nuggets.
And Lakers.
F the Lakers. and Minnesota.
Get 'em.
Nuggets are winning right now, Nuggets Nation, 72-56. But on that note, we are going to wrap this up. We will see y'all next week where we will break down, who should be getting Defensive Player of the Year, who should be getting MVP, because we didn't even get into that today, which we're both pretty heated about. So we're going to get into that next week. We're going to pinpoint exactly who was right with Ryan and I and Larry on who was right about who's going to be where and whatnot. But with that said, we will see y'all next week, Sunday, 2 p.m. I can keep rambling. We need 2 hours. But we'll see y'all next week, 2 p.m. Sports Fiends, holla at your boys. Peace. You killed your mic.